Monster Hunter Rise, the newest installment of Monster Hunter coming out March 16th. Rise so far I'd say has me and a good chunk of the fan base extremely excited, veterans and fivers alike. I don't know about anyone else, but I found myself sitting down and being difficult, like I usually am, wondering, why does this game have me so anxious for it? So, today I'm making this video where I'm gonna pick apart why this has me excited. Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate was my very first Monster Hunter game. At first I didn't understand it and I was hella confused by it. But the more and more I played it, I got used to the mechanics and I found myself loving it. From the monsters, to the combat, to the builds, and all the little cheeky stuff thrown in between. I thought it was just a really fun time all around. After a good 100 or so hours in Monster Hunter 3, I decided I was going to go get Monster Hunter 4 when I had the chance. But when I eventually ended up walking in the store, something unexpected appeared in front of me. Something very special. Monster Hunter Generations. At the time, I didn't know anything about Generations other than the fact that it was the next installment after 4. I was tight on money at the time, so I decided I'd buy Generations, and if I felt like going back, I'd purchase 4 some other day. And on that day, I'm very glad I made the choice I did. Now, I know about the other Monster Hunter games. I hardcore binged into the series a few years ago out of curiosity, so I usually know what monsters were added from what game and what said games added to the franchise afterwards, but my little Generations just felt so crazy compared to them. It went from the normal Monster Hunter formula to something fast, crazy, flashy, and amazing. They brought back a ton of monsters from across the entire series, and on top of that added new monsters, some of which even ended up becoming fan favorites. While I love Monster Hunter 3, Generations will probably remain my favorite of those two, and probably out of the series as a whole. Monster Hunter 4 fixed some of the sluggishness of the controls and added the Charge Blade, and in my mind, Monster Hunter 4 walked so Generations could run. Generations popped off with those slicker controls and made the other weapons feel cooler by comparison to their main series counterparts, with some new combos, functionalities, and hunter arts, which I think were the best addition to Generations as a whole. I ended up getting Generations Ultimate later, which added a few new monsters, hunter arts, and some other stuff, but at its core it was just a better Generations. Now, some of the old veterans weren't happy with the direction Generations went in. It was too much of a drastic change from their old Monster Hunter gameplay, while some people like me loved it for that drastic change that they made to the series. Either way, both sides knew the next Monster Hunter would have to be something special. So then, Monster Hunter World was announced, and we all collectively shit our pants by seeing that it would be coming to next-gen consoles and the graphics would just be looking like God. So, base Monster Hunter World ends up releasing on December 22nd, 2017. Fuck, it was really that long ago? And then, a lot happened. Monster Hunter World is unarguably the best sold Monster Hunter in the series. They actually went out of their way to advertise it to the West, which they had never really done before. They also made a few tweaks to the core gameplay to make it more accessible to a broader, newer audience. The game ended up being beautiful. They even added a few new mechanics like hurting monsters with the environment, new combos, new effects for weapons, mantles, among other things. Now for me personally, and I know a few other people who would agree with me on this statement, but I thought base Monster Hunter World was just okay. I loved the challenge of the old games, and when they ended up making it more accessible to a broader audience, they lowered the difficulty bar quite a bit. In comparison to the other Monster Hunter games, this one felt extremely tame, which was a big turnoff for me. In comparison to struggling in underwater fights in 3 to the tense fights of hyper monsters in Generations, World felt lackluster. Along with the fact that this game came off the coattails of Generation, which had 81 large monsters in comparison to World's 31. All this means is that the new mechanics of World would have to carry it, and World's mechanics did not interest me like Gen's did. Like, they felt cool the first time you used them, using a mantle, dropping rocks on a monster, but after a while, I just got bored of it. Granted, to its saving grace, Iceborne came out with the addition of the Clutch Claw, which, in my opinion, was the spiciest addition they added to Monster Hunter World, because unlike all the other new mechanics which just served to make the game easier, this one actually had some real risk and strategy into using it. For me, it wasn't better than the Hunter Arts, but it was pretty cool for a baseline Monster Hunter game. Iceborne was the best thing that could have happened in the world, along with the newer monsters and raising the difficulty. This all made me quite enjoy my time with it. But now that all that's out the way and you know where I'm coming from, let's focus back on Rise. Rise looks so attractive to me due to a mix of things. The fact that the wire bug looks like it'll create all sorts of new mobility and combos. The fact that this game looks like it has more of the speed of Gen and World meshed together, more returning monsters, mounts, the doggos, and them damn crispy graphics on a Switch? If World was a spoonful of spice and Gen was a whole Tabasco bottle, then everything in Rise is looking like every sauce on Hot Ones right now. Bring all these new and old world things together into one super attractive package has me on the edge of my seat. Seeing as Monster Hunter World brought so many new fans to the Monster Hunter series, I'm sure this one will do really well. We'll just have to wait and see what else this game has in store, but for right now, I'm like many other people, really excited by all its promise, and I can't wait to see what else it'll bring in the future.